Hey, how's it going everyone? I hope that you're all having an amazing day. Season 6 of Apex Legends is only a few weeks away, so in preparation for all of the hyped up Apex Legends teasers that I'm sure we'll be releasing in the next couple of weeks, we are going to go over each and every single leaked Apex Legends character that we know about. Be sure to let me know in the comments which of these legends you are most excited about. I also will be covering all of the upcoming leaks and teasers for Apex Legends Season 6, so if you want to stay in the loop when it comes to all things Apex and other games, then consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, if this video helps you out at all, then help me out by hitting the like button, but let's get right into it because there are 12 legends to go over in this video, so I will only briefly be covering each legend as well as their abilities. But let's start this list off with the legend that I anticipate the most, which is Rampart. Rampart has a good chance at being the Season 6 legend, and so far we only have a few limited pictures of Rampart that come from the leaked dev sheet. Rampart's abilities are as follows: Amped Cover, which builds cover with an upper barrier that blocks incoming shots and boosts the damage of outgoing shots. He also has Emplaced HMG, which places a mounted machine gun that anyone can use. It has a high ammo capacity and long reload time. Rampart's passive ability will be Gunner, which allows him to have machine guns with increased magazine capacity and they reload faster. I am excited to see when and how Rampart gets added into the game. If you've been following my channel at all, you know I have a couple videos going over all of the Rampart leaks and how I think we've actually already seen Rampart in the game. I'll put a tag to that video right now, but let's move on to the next legend on this list, which is Nomad. So apparently Nomad could also be the next legend to come out because inside of the files, this legend is basically completed. This image may or may not be Nomad, and we don't actually know a whole ton about the lore behind Nomad, which is why personally I do not think that he will be the next legend, but Nomad's abilities are his passive called Pack Mule, which allows Nomad and his teammates to have additional backpack space, his tactical called Loot Compass, which allows Nomad to follow the loot compass to the nearest item, and his ultimate, which is Crafting Table, which allows Nomad to place a crafting table down, scrap salvageable material, and purchase items. Nomad I think could be a very useful legend, but it really depends on how exactly they implement his abilities. Let's move on though and talk about the next legend, which is Immortal. Immortal looks to be a Titanfall inspired legend with a pilot looking suit of armor. He has been described as a shield support legend by the data miner That One Mining Guy, and for good reason, because his abilities are as follows. His passive is called Hard to Kill, and when you get downed, you will be able to revive yourself. His tactical is Shield Charger / Teardown, which unleashes a cloud of nanites to charge your team's shield or hit a target with a cloud of nanites to kill their shields for a short period of time. And Immortal's ultimate is Rise of the Phoenix, which restores your health and shields to full and gives nearby teammates 30 seconds of self-revive. This takes 8 whole seconds to charge, and to me, in Immortal's current state, the name is really fitting because honestly, these seem like the most overpowered set of abilities that I have ever seen. I'm almost positive that these will end up getting reworked in some way before his release, but let's move on though and talk about BLISK. So in Titanfall, BLISK is a South African mercenary and leader of the Apex Predators, which is a group of rogue pilots. BLISK has already been teased and featured in Apex Legends in the very first cinematic trailer. BLISK's abilities are as follows. His passive is called Interrogation, and basically when he executes an enemy, he will reveal the location of that enemy's allies for 10 whole seconds. His tactical is called Throwing Knife, and it deals 20 damage and marks the target. Killing a marked target rewards double credits, which comes into play with his ultimate, which is called Payday. So with Payday, squad kills award credits, and you can spend these credits on powerful supplies. BLISK is also a legend that I believe will need some reworking before he comes in. Not because any of these abilities are overpowered, but because I think that they are actually needing some power and or some usefulness. His passive, for example, could reveal enemies for a little bit longer period of time, perhaps 30 seconds even. 10 seconds just doesn't feel like it would be worth the risk of performing a finisher, especially in the heat of battle. But moving on, let's talk about JERICHO. Similar to Rampart, little is known about the backstory of JERICHO, but the coding of this character suggests that he will be a bigger modeled character, similar to Gibraltar or Caustic. JERICHO's abilities will be his passive, which is called called Ballistic Shield Protection, and this will have a ballistic shield that protects your back when you are not actively using it. His potential tactical would be called Ballistic Shield, which is a full body shield that protects you from incoming fire. And his potential ultimate would be Shield Breaker Javelins, which allows him to throw 2 electrically charged javelins that burn through the enemy's body shields. Just looking at Jericho's abilities, he seems like he would be an incredibly interesting legend to play as, but I want to know how well the back protection will work because that to me is a major selling point. Moving on though, let's talk about Scunner. So the rest of the legends on this list we actually know very little about other than their abilities. This image right here could either be Scunner or possibly even Prophet, which we will go over Prophet a little bit later. But Scunner actually does have a nickname which is called Crafty Trapper. Scunner's abilities are as follows. His passive is called Light Step, and you are not slowed by debris traps and do not leave traversal evidence for trackers. His tactical is called Debris Trap, which drops a pile of debris that slows and damages enemies when they move through it. And his ultimate would be Shiltrum Barrier Grenade, which instantly creates a spiked barrier made from rapid hardening resins. Scunner is another legend that on paper seems really cool, and I'm excited to see where and how exactly Apex Legends goes about releasing all of these legends, but let's move on and talk about the next one, Husaria. Husaria's nickname is the Hard Breacher, and his abilities are as follows. His passive is called Shotgun Kick, and you have a shotgun attached to your leg that fires when you melee doors or enemies. This requires shotgun ammo, and using your abilities grants you a brief speed boost. His tactical would be called Flashbang, which would throw a grenade that briefly blinds and deafens opponents. And his ultimate would be Concussive Breaching Charge, which plants a breaching charge that fires a sonic wave through walls to destroy traps, force open doors, and disorient enemies. Husaria really seems like he is going to be an aggressive legend with some really good abilities for the close quarter combat. This is going to be especially nice to use in ranked mode, where squads often get stuck holding a building. Moving on though, we are going to talk about Prophet, or the Seer. This image again could either be Scunner or Prophet. We aren't 100% sure yet, but this is what we know about Prophet's abilities. The passive ability is called Sniper Training, and it allows for increased accuracy while aimed down sight and starts the game with a scope. The tactical ability is called Spotter Sight, and what it does is it scans the environment for enemies and gathers information on targets found. And the ultimate is called Triple Tap. It equips a silenced sniper rifle with 3 shots. I am really interested to see how Scunner ends up playing out, and I'm curious as to which scope Scunner will start the match with, because if it is a 6x scope, then I am already not going to be using this legend. But let's move on and talk about Downfall. Downfall is described as a populist pyromaniac, and Downfall is believed to be deep in development because this was another leak on the leaked dev sheet. Downfall's abilities are as follows. His passive is called Firewalker, which you automatically extinguish fire by walking through it. Burning teammates will be extinguished when they move close to you. His tactical is called Fire Sale, which drops a box of 4 Molotovs that anyone in your squad can pick up and throw. And his ultimate is called Rain of Fire, which fires a rocket-propelled firebomb. Downfall has some interesting abilities to say the least, and the passive ability, if it were in the game right now, would only work for thermite grenades. But if the passive is released alongside this legend, whose abilities are to basically catch the enemies on fire, then this passive may end up being a lot more useful. Moving on now, let's talk about Reckoner. Reckoner is one of the latest leaked legends in the files and is described as a self-sacrificing romantic. Reckoner is still in early stages of development, but his abilities are as follows. His passive is called Shield Blast, and upon breaking shields will emit an explosion, damaging nearby enemies. His tactical is called Shield Stealer, which will allow him to fire an energy beam that drains enemies' shields and charges his own. And his ultimate is called Gravity Orb, and this will allow him to throw a slow-moving gravity orb that bends the trajectory of nearby attacks. Moving on, let's talk about the second to last legend on our list, which is Conduit. There are no images for Conduit, but another legend was discovered along with Forge, and their codename is Conduit. The game files indicate that Conduit will be an overshield conductor, possibly suggesting that Conduit will be another support type character rather than offensive or defensive. Conduit's abilities are as follows. The tactical is called Arc Flash, and it deals damage to Conduit's shields to give targeted allies an overshield. Conduit's passive is called Capacitance. Oh. Conduit's passive is called Capacitance. Conduit's base health is going to be 50 and her shield is going to be 50 instead of the 100 base health. She will also gradually regenerate shield over time. Conduit's ultimate is called Short Circuit, and this allows Conduit to channel their shields into a giant arc ball that flies across the battlefield, stealing shields from enemies. Conduit's abilities seem interesting, but honestly probably are going to need a lot of balancing for them to work properly in the meta, especially considering the fact that there are so many other legends that will most likely be out before Conduit. Finally, our last legend on this list is Valk. Valk is described as a soaring aviator and was another legend that was leaked on the dev sheet. This image doesn't do a whole lot when it comes to what Valk might look like, and my opinion is that Valk has been redesigned into Ashe. That is, if Ashe even comes into the games as a legend. In any case, Valk's abilities are as follows. Her passive is called VTOL Jets, and you can hold a jump to initiate the VTOL Jets. Her tactical is called Cluster Missile, which allows her to fire a rocket that explodes multiple times. And her ultimate is called Skyward, and this allows Valk to press once to prepare for launch. Teammates can then interact with Valk to join up in the launch, and then Valk can press it again to launch into the air and skydive. To me, Valk's abilities are very similar to that of a Titan from the Titanfall games, and being that Ashe is literally an old pilot simulacrum, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Valk does end up being Ashe. But that is all of the currently leaked legends that we have alongside their abilities. Do me a favor, and if you made it this far into the video, then comment down below in the comments, "Made it." I would really appreciate it, and other than that, I hope you all have an amazing day. I'm out.